So, Zos Hanukkah, here we are for those here in the land of Israel. We're here already. We're at Zos Hanukkah. The lights have been lit. The final day, Zos Hanukkah. Okay, so I'd like to share a class from Y.Y. Jacobson on Zos Hanukkah, and also a little bit, we'll talk about my most favorite class of what was really going on with the oil. But first, a little about Zos Hanukkah. Okay, so we might want to ask, why is this day called Zos Hanukkah? This is Hanukkah. What about the rest of the week? Wasn't that also Hanukkah? Why is this called Zos Hanukkah? And what does Zos Hanukkah mean? It's traditionally understood as referring to the Kriyas HaTorah of, which will be tomorrow for all of us, anyone who's able to get there to shul and hear it, because the Kriyas HaTorah for tomorrow, the last day of Hanukkah, has the word Zos Chanukas HaMizbeach Bayom Hi Mashech. This is the dedication of the altar on the day that it was anointed. I like that word, Hi Mashech, hinting at Mashiach. So Zos Hanukkah, that's where it gets its name. This is Hanukkah. We read about on Hanukkah, we read about the korbanos that the Nesiim, that the princes brought for the Beis HaMikdash, and we culminate it with Zos Hanukkah. This is Hanukkah in the Torah reading. So the question still lingers. Zos Hanukkah means this is Hanukkah, and it's a minhag Yisro. It's a Jewish custom to refer to the last day of Hanukkah as Zos Hanukkah. So, and Jewish tradition means this has meticulous meaning, because we know that minhagim have meticulous meaning. So this is all part of Hanukkah. It's the end of Hanukkah. Hanukkah has 8 days. This is only 1 day. So it means now we have Hanukkah. So the other Yom Tovim, we don't say Zos Sukkos. We don't say that Zos Pesach, but Zos Hanukkah we say. So the first day of Hanukkah, so we start saying the Kriyas HaTorah, speaking about what the Nevi'im, what the princes brought to the Mizbeach. And again, we say Zos Hanukkah in tomorrow's reading. Well, tonight and tomorrow, it's all 1 day, Zos Hanukkah. All right, so we will now see how an insignificant detail will not only reflects a monumental idea about Hanukkah, but also an idea about life. So the fact that it's called Zos Hanukkah is not only teaching us about Hanukkah, it's teaching us about life. Let's see how that's going to work. So the sun is reflected in a single drop of water. Have you ever noticed that? There's a lot of little drops of water. You're outside, and a little dew, and each one reflects the sun. Okay, so in biology, every cell, the genes in each cell, have the whole body. Its genes for the whole body can be found in each cell. So sometimes a minute detail reflects a monumental idea. So the fact that this day is Zos Hanukkah, it reflects a monumental idea. Is everyone getting excited here? So one of the great contributions of our Rebbe, the Lubavitcher Rebbe, in his approach to learning is that the Rebbe could begin with what seems like a minor detail and then go to the essence of the issue and show how it's a reflection of a larger picture, how it's essential to understand the topic, and sometimes to understand all of Yiddishkeit and all of life. And this is an example, Zos Hanukkah. So that's very exciting. We're going to see how what seems like a small detail reflects all of Yiddishkeit and all of life. Okay, so this is the introduction. To understand, we have to introduce another concept, the name Hanukkah. Why was Hanukkah named Hanukkah? So the connection is not so clear, and there are many different opinions. Sukkos, there's a clear connection, right? It's called Sukkos. We dwell, Hashem says, I house them in Sukkos. That's pretty easy. Purim, the Megillah says, Al Shem HaPur, Hu HaGoral. We know that Haman threw lots, that was the Goral. And on Pesach, Hashem leaped over the houses of the Jews. That's the Pesach. Shavuos, we actually count 7 weeks. Aseres B'Tevis is simply the date. Tisha B'Av is simply the actual date. But what happened on Hanukkah? So we celebrate the miracle of the oil. Now, some say that it's called Chanukah because Chanu means they rested, and Chaf Hey is 25, so they rested on the 25th of Kislev, when we start to celebrate Hanukkah. I bet everyone's heard that one before. That's an old one. So the war ended on Chaf Dalet on the 24th, and we rested on the 25th. The war was over. And Chanukas Habayas means dedicating something. Chinuch also means dedication. They rededicated the Beis Hamikdash after it was contaminated. It was a new beginning. Okay. Now, David Avudraham, who was one of the Rishonim, said Hanukkah is an acronym, is Rashi Tevis for Ches, Neiros, V'Halacha, K'Beis Hillel. 8 candles, and the halacha, the law, is like Beis Hillel. If you heard that one before, if you write it out, you can see Ches, there's a Ches, that's the Ches, then Neiros is the Nun, V'Halacha is the Vav, Beis Hillel gives us the Chaf, and Hillel itself gives us the final Hey. So, got that? Okay, so the Gemara in Masechta Shabbos, in the 2nd chapter, Mahadran Minha Mahadran speaks about how we do it. I mean, the fact that, that we add another candle every night, because halakhically one has to just light 1 candle each night, but we're all Mahadran, even the simplest people are Mahadran Minha Mahadran, doing it in the most beautiful way. And we know there's a machloikis between Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. How many candles do we light each night? So we know that Beis Shammai says the first night we light 8 candles, and then we decrease each night, and the final night, so Hanukkah, would be 1 candle. But the halacha is like Beis Hillel, who says we ascend 1 the first night, going 2, 3, 4, up till 8 the last night tonight. Some people might have it still burning. If you're in Israel or if you're in California, you haven't lit it yet. All right, so this is an interesting fact. We know the name of a person or holiday is not incidental. The name captures the essence of the person. And we know the Arizal teaches when parents give a name, they become Bale Ruach HaKodesh. They have like Nevuah, they have prophecy. They have to give a child's name. Hasidim would ask the Rebbe questions about all different small details of life. But when it came to giving a name to a child, the Rebbe said, we never mix in. This is the parents have to give the name. The Rebbe would not suggest names for parents to give a child because parents have Ruach HaKodesh. The name reflects the essence. The fact that the halacha is like Beis Hillel becomes the very name of the holiday. As we said, it's, what was it? Ches 8 Neiros v'Halacha Beis Hillel. It's part of the name of the holiday. It's essential. Okay. So the name touches the essence of Hanukkah. I can understand Ches Neiros, but v'Halacha Beis Hillel, how is this the essential? Why is this essential to Hanukkah? Beis Shammai also celebrated Hanukkah. They just did it his way, going for 876, etc. So the fact that the halacha is like Beis Hillel becomes the very name of the holiday. That's part of the, according to the Avudraham, that's how we get the name of the holiday. Okay, so what Beis Hillel advocates is not only a detail, but it embodies the raison d'etre, the purpose of the holiday. Question, you might want to ask, what's the chronological relationship between Hanukkah and Hillel? Let's get that straightened out. Hillel lived less than a century after Hanukkah, the miracle of Hanukkah. Hanukkah occurred in the middle of the second Beis Hamikdash in 165 before the Common Era. Hillel was born 110 before the Common Era. That's pretty easy math. He was born 55 years after the miracle of Hanukkah. So the year after Hanukkah, they made it a holiday. Maybe it didn't have its name yet. Maybe they called it the holiday. It's like, and then Rabbi YY says, what do you call a baby before the bris? It could be that they celebrated the holiday before they gave it a name. Okay? So maybe the Avodraham is saying this is one of the explanations. In any case, Hanukkah was established the year after the Nes. And why did the Hachamim wait until the next year, you might want to ask? L'shana haba kav'u, it says, that's what it says in the Gemara. The next year they established it. You could say they established it then for the next year, but the literal meaning is they established it the next year. Why? So now we're going to have an insight of the Halakha Kedushas Levi of Berditchev. By the way, this isn't in this class, but while I was researching what to teach tonight, I saw that the Halakha Kedushas Levi Yitzchak of Berditchev said, be certain not to play cards over Chana, playing cards. He said each card has an indescribably terrible klipa on it. They know we shouldn't play cards at any time, shouldn't have them in the house, but certainly not during Hanukkah. Well, I had that kind of, I thought, it doesn't seem like a surprise to me. But if you have any decks of cards in your house, you might want to put them outside. All right, anyway, that's a side issue. Okay, so an insight of the Halakha Kedushas Levi. A yontif in Yiddishkeit is not simply a commemoration of a historical event. A yontif is Hashem is putting forth the same energy that was channeled into the universe the first time the yontif occurred. It reoccurs every year. So this is a very important concept. So Pesach is not just that we commemorated an event that happened years ago, but the very same energy of liberation that allowed Jews to leave Mitzrayim comes back into the world every Pesach. One can tap into that energy of redemption. We can tap into that in our own lives. And it's the same with Sukkot, all the holidays in Torah. So what about Hanukkah? So the Hachamim couldn't make it a yontif the first year. Why? They had to ask themselves, now listen to this, they had to ask themselves, is this going to be simply a historical commemoration, or is this a Jewish holiday where the same energy will be here every year? I think that's a very important point that we might not have always gotten, that it's not just a historical commemoration, a Jewish holiday. The sages say that the same energy, to make it a holiday, the same energy has to be available every year. And they didn't know Hoshana Haba the next year, but Koach Kislev, Chav Hei Kislev, the 25th of Kislev, the next year, the Hachamim, the sages felt that energy again, and then they make Hanukkah a holiday. So historical commemoration is no problem. You just say this once happened. But a yontif in Yiddishkeit, we re-experience the original event. I think that's an important idea that we should share with our friends and neighbors. Okay, the Arizal says in the Megillah Esther, Yamim ha'ela niskarim v'nasim. By remembering it, you recreate it, v'nasim. Therefore, the sages had to wait till the next year to see if they felt the same energy. Okay, so again, Hillel was born in 110 before the Common Era, and he lived 120 years, which would bring him to 10 in the Common Era. So Hillel died in the year 10 of the Common Era. That was about 2,200 years ago. Hillel and his colleague Shammai were zugim. They were spiritual leaders of the Jewish people during the Roman conquest, a very difficult time to live in, but Baruch Hashem, we had great sages. The Romans took over the land from the Hashmonaim. The Hashmonaim, we know, took it away from the Greeks, and they ruled 100 years. I actually listened to a very interesting class by Rabbi Jonathan Sachs today on Hanukkah, and he was saying, where do we read about Hanukkah? So the book of Maccabees, which is not part of Tanakh, but it's something he said it's interesting that some of the Christians made it part of their Bible, but it's not part of Tanakh, but it's considered a source. And in it, it speaks about the wars that we fought against the Greeks. And it does not mention the miracle of oil at all. It just mentions how we won the war and got rid of the Greeks. Now, in the Gemara, when it speaks about it, it says very good, and we won the war against the Greeks, half of a sentence, and then there was the miracle of the oil. They speak about that. So we speak about the miracle of the oil. That's the big deal. And Jonathan Sachs says it's very interesting because the war, we only actually ruled, we only had Jewish rule for 100 years before the Greeks ruled. Then we had 100 years of Jewish rule, thanks to the Hashmonaim, who became very assimilated, he said. They themselves, after the Hanukkah victory, became very assimilated. The Romans took over, but for over 2,000 years, we've kept the miracle of the oil. I thought that was very interesting. So that's what's lasted. The military victory really only brought benefits for 100 years, but the oil, we're still celebrating. So again, Hillel and Shammai ruled under Rome. So Hillel and Shammai had different approaches to halacha. And between actual Hillel and actual Shammai, there are 3 debates recorded in the Talmud, and they both developed schools, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. And there's over 300 different arguments recorded in the Talmud between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. So the argument here on Hanukkah is between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel, not between Hillel and Shammai themselves. It's like they're students. The students of Hillel and the students of Shammai had this argument about how you light the candles on Hanukkah. But we know Ches Neiros v'halacha k'Beis Hillel, Hanukkah. Okay, back to our question. So there's many questions decided by Beis Hillel, and somehow the essence of Hanukkah is halacha k'Beis Hillel. So to understand this, we have to go deeper into the perspectives of both Beis Hillel and Beis Shammai. Because we know Beis Shammai is 8 the first night, Beis Hillel is 8 the last night. That's tonight. Very exciting. So the Gemara asks, what's the logic of Beit Shammai? How did he come up with 8, 7, 6, 5, etc.? Okay, so Beit Shammai reasons the days that are yet to come, the days that are in potential, befall, in potential. Beis Hillel says the days that have come already. Beis Shammai is looking at the upcoming days, the days that are awaiting realization. So the first night, 8 days await realization. The second night, 7 days. By the 8th night tonight, there's only 1 day awaiting realization. Therefore, the lights decrease with each passing day. It's by what the potential is, what's left. Beis Hillel says it represents the accumulated actualization of the 8-day. So again, I'm sorry. So the potential is Bekoach, and that's Beis Shammai, and the actualization, Bepoel, is Beis Hillel. Okay, I hope we got that straight. Hope I didn't confuse anybody too much. Again, so Beis Hillel represents the accumulated actualization, Bepoel, of the 8-day festival of Hanukkah. So the first night is actualized, second night 2, 8th night tonight, 8 candles. What's the logic of Beit Shammai? If you believe candles have to correspond to the number of days, I understand. The first night is 1, the second night is 2, like Sfiras HaOmer. That's Beis Hillel, that's easy to understand. But why does Beis Shammai insist on discussing the upcoming days, not the days we have in reality? The logic has to do with a general debate between Beis Hillel and Beit Shammai. And this is really how the Rebbe would teach Gemara. When 2 sages come up, the Rebbe would show how their opinions and all different arguments all through the Gemara had the same underlying disagreement, which is, I thought, A very interesting idea. So the logic of why Hillel says 1 through 8 and Shammai says 8 through 1 has to do with the general debate between the school of Hillel and Shammai. And when we study all of their debates, and again, there's hundreds of them, we see many point to the same pattern. The arguments are not disjointed. They all reflect the same pattern. Okay. So again, the pattern is by Beis Shammai, it's bekoach, what's in potential, and by Beis Hillel, it's always bepoel, what is in actuality. So Beis Shammai says in life, you have to discuss and embrace the potential, bekoach. There's the potentiality of every situation, of every person. Beis Hillel focuses on the actualized reality of any person or situation, where we are right now. Okay, examples. Here are some examples. The Mishnah says, when are fish susceptible to makabel tuma? When fish in the water can't makabel, did you know that fish in the water can't makabel tuma? They can't be contaminated. Even if a corpse touches them, fish won't become tameh in water. They have to be taken out of the water to makabel, to be makabel tameh, to receive spiritual impurity, and not alive. But I'm very excited about the idea that fish can't makabel. I like, because I do like snorkeling. It is one of my favorite activities, and now I can appreciate a new level of the fish. Yes. Okay. So, Beis Shammai says the moment you take the fish out of the water, they can become tameh, they can become tuma. Beis Hillel says the moment they die, they makabel tuma. Get that difference there. As soon as they're taken out of the water, when fish is taken out of the water, it's initially not dead. When taken out of the water, it's dead in potential, but not in actuality, the moment you take it out of the water. Bekoyach. So Beis Shammai says if it's out of the water, it's in a state leading to death, it's tameh. So because bekoach in potential, it's tameh. Beis Hillel says no, it's only when it's actually dead. Another argument. So Hallel, we say on the first night of Pesach. Beis Shammai says Hallel is in the Haggadah. We should only say the first parsha. You shouldn't say B'tzeis Yisrael mi Mitzrayim, because they left Mitzrayim later at midnight. Beis Hillel says, what's the point to wait? They only left the next day. When did they actually leave? The next day. When did they get permission to leave? Pesach comes running at night. Paro comes running at night. Get out of here. But they couldn't leave until the next day. So the bekoach, they had permission at night, but it wasn't actualized till the next day. Beit Shammai follows bekoach, the potential, so he believes Yitzias Mitzrayim was at night, and Beis Hillel is bepoel, the actuality. So Yitzias Mitzrayim was by day when it actually happened, not just when they got permission, that's the potential to leave, but when they actually left. Another argument, so we're seeing how all the arguments between Beit Shammai and Beis Hillel in the Talmud, between their schools, was always a question of what is in potential, bekoach, and what is in actuality, befoil. Another argument, until when can we read the Shema at night? So Rabbi Elazar, a student of Beit Shammai, says in Mishnah Brachas, you can read the Ad Sof Shmora Rishona, until the end of the first section of the night. Other sages say you can read Kriya Shema until dawn breaks. And the Gemara says, B'shach b'cha. What does it mean when you lie down? Does it mean as long as people are asleep, or when you go to sleep? So when people go to sleep is one of the opinions. And the Hachamim say when they are asleep, you can read all night until dawn breaks. There's an argument. When are you sleeping? When are you sleeping? We know when you're preparing to go to sleep. You create the condition that will be actualized when you sleep. We put on our nightgowns, right? We spread the blanket. Beit Shammai said, this is creating the potential. B'shifbacha means creating the potential for sleep, like fish taken out of the water, like Paro giving the Jews permission to leave. You take it away from a place, the fish, you take them away from a place where it has life, and the bekoach is there for the fish to die and become impure. Okay, so this gives us three other examples of the debate between Hillel and Shammai, talking about the difference between potential and actual. Now we understand Hanukkah. Beit Shammai sees it as bekoach. The first night Hanukkah is an 8-day holiday, and it has bekoach 8 days. Light 8 candles because I focus on bekoach. The second night, 1 day is gone. Now I have 7 days coming. The last night, tonight, I have 1 left. Beit Shammai says, once the first day passes, it doesn't count anymore. I still have 7 bekoach. Beis Hillel says, seeing the actual state is significant. The 8 nights have come into actuality, light 8 candles. So you might ask, why would I give prominence to potential, bekoach, over actualization, befol? Isn't it more real when it's actualized? Beit Shammai says no. The potential is what we're interested. Light 8 the first night. The potential is primary. The potential overrides the actuality, according to Beit Shammai. And this is reflected in people's lives. There's 2 general ways to view anything in life: in light of its potential or in light of its actual state. I thought this is very interesting because it's really how we can see people that walk through the door. We can see them how they are in potential, and then hopefully we can help them realize their potential, or we could see them how they are actually, or we can do both. We can, okay, let's read more, let's learn more. Okay. So in a person, you could say she has tremendous potential, but actually her performance is poor. She can't get out of bed in the morning, and she's always in a bad mood. Okay, so that's tough. That's someone, but they have tremendous potential. Marriage has potential. An organization has potential. The moment has potential. Or there's potential for disaster, but it might be contained and not realized. Yes, we don't want that potential for disaster to be realized. Would you invest in a company that has a lot of potential? Some people are potential, or they're oriented towards the potential. Stick it out in a relationship depending on its potential. Some look at concrete reality. Which is the better way? Well, there are 2 perspectives, and maybe we could, benefit. We think so much about paradox of 2 opposites. We can benefit from both perspectives. Like in children, in education, there are parents who don't look at the actual behavior, but they look who he is inside, the potential. The potential is more powerful and glamorous. Can we actualize our potential? Now, that's an interesting question. Can we actualize our potential? How much potential can come to full actualization? How much of our brains do we use? They say that most people, we only use 5% of our brains. We're not using our potential. So there's no actuality without first bekoach, in potential. Every actualization comes from a potential. Now, there's an interesting thought. So in the seed is the potential for a tree. It's very interesting. We live where there's a lot of nature, thank God. So there's a lot of seeds that I can see and look at. When you think, you hold this little acorn in your hand, that this has the potential for a tree. It is kind of mind-blowing how Hashem thought of that whole business with trees making seeds. And I like that. Okay, Beis Shammai. In life, you have to look at your potential. That's what the Torah wants. Have I lived up to my potential? Can you give hope? It can give hope. There's more than what you see. Beis Hillel says the Torah looks primarily at actuality. So this is where they differed. Beit Shammai says the Torah looks at potential. Beis Hillel says the Torah looks at actuality. Yaakov has a dream. He sees a ladder. He sees angels going up and down. Gemara Chulin said they went up and looked at Yaakov's image above, and then they came down and looked at Yaakov's image below. Diyukna shel Yaakov l'mayla, diyukna shel Yaakov l'mata. Everybody has two images in the world. We have our image above of who we are capable of being. I like that. And then we have our image, image below of what we are in this moment. How often do they match? So the malachim, the angels who were going up and down the ladder, had never seen 100% match before. That Yaakov above and Yaakov below, Yaakov was living out his potential. Tell me that's not cool. Okay. And then there's Kissinger's story. Kissinger was like the Secretary of State to Nixon. So he has a story of Nixon's last night in the White House. So as he's leaving the White House for the last time, Nixon stops and starts talking to Kennedy's picture, which was hanging on the wall. And this is where Kissinger is there and reports this back. Nixon says to Kennedy's picture, "Why do the American people love you and hate me? Because when they look at you, they see what they like, they see their potential. But when they look at me, they see who they actually are." A little on the heavy side, but it's an interesting vort. Okay, so, and this is, we can say, what did Hashem see when he created me? Where am I holding now? So this, I hope everyone's, it's good to be inspired, right? Let's bring out our potential. The Alter Rebbe says, when you look at another Jew, you have to look at him the way he is conceived in Hashem's primordial mind, otherwise known as Adam Kadmon. See a Jew, how Hashem sees him in his primordial mind. That's so beautiful. I mean, it's such a gift to be able to give that to someone, to look at someone, how he appears in Hashem's primordial mind. Imagine your marriage. Imagine how Hashem imagined you in his thought before he created you. The Alter Rebbe, when you look at a Jew, you have to be able to see that. Makshava hakaduma de Adam Kadmon, how he appears in the primordial thought of Adam Kadmon. When you see it in person, you help the person see it in themselves. By seeing the potential in a person, you help them see it in themselves. Beis Shammai says, focus on the potential, the koach. It gives you power. It elevates your standards. Okay, an anecdote. Baron Ginsburg was a gevir, was a wealthy person in Russia. The Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitch Rebbe, met Baron Ginsburg during the pogroms. Baron Ginsburg said, "Let me tell you what I did to save Jews today." The Rebbe Rashab said, the question is not what you have done. The question is, what are you capable of accomplishing b'koach? So isn't that interesting? It's not what you've done in actuality, but let's talk about what you're really capable of doing. Yes. So the b'koach, the potential is hidden in the actuality. Beis Hillel says we live in a world of b'poel, of actuality. We are creatures of b'poel. We can't expect someone to live at their potential all the time, Beis Hillel says. Okay. This is like a little anecdote. A says, "Do you love me?" B says, "In potential." Okay. That might have been a joke. I'm not sure. We tend to judge people by their actual conduct. That is true. We do tend to we tend to judge people by their actual conduct. The reality to us is what is, rather than what might be, because we're physical creatures. Okay. Oh no. Then he told this joke that somebody put new asphalt, new concrete down in their driveway, and while it was fresh, children started running up and down in the wet concrete, and Husband started yelling at them out of the window, get out of the concrete. And his wife said, I thought you liked children. And he said, I like children in the potential, but not in the concrete. That was a joke. I'm glad I got one that I understood there. That's lucky. Okay. So we are finite. We have potential. We might not actualize it because we don't have enough energy, willpower, or time. Our potential may remain hidden. To us, it could be insignificant. So imagine in a spiritual creature that's unlimited, has unlimited energy and time, potential wins. If we have unlimited energy and time, every potential can be actualized. On earth, potential loses because we don't always have enough energy and time. In heaven, potential prevails. And this was the argument between Beit Shammai and Beis Hillel. Beit Shammai says heaven was created first, and Beis Hillel says earth was created first. Now, that's interesting. On a deeper level, Beit Shammai says our standards are always in heaven. Beis Hillel says we embrace the world of actuality. Halacha is like Beis Hillel. But we have to know Beis Shammai. Why do we need to know Beis Shammai? Because we need to understand the concept of potential. We can't be confined by the reality of actualization. We have to also understand potential. For Hashem, where limitations don't exist, potential is higher than actual because, yes, we had enough time and energy. Okay. By Hashem, ein koach chaser poel. Koach is not missing pole. What if I know that idea will lead to actualization in every aspect? Then the idea is in its greatest moment. It can be actualized. So this is the argument between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. What is Torah? Torah was given by Hashem to man. Therefore, Torah has divine properties and Torah has human properties. An impure person can't walk into the Beis Hamikdash, but an impure person is allowed to study Torah. Why? Because Torah can't become tamei. It's Hashem's words. A rabbi is allowed to be moichel on his kavod. A king is not allowed to be moichel. Is not allowed to forgive if someone doesn't treat him with honor. Why is a rabbi allowed? Because it's his Torah. There's the heaven of Torah and there's the earth of Torah. In those mitzvahs where it's unclear, Beis Shammai opts for the heaven approach and Beis Hillel opts for the earth approach. Beis Shammai follows the potential, Beis Hillel follows the actual. Beit Shammai says in Hashem's world, the potential counts. Action is what trickles down from the potential. Beis Hillel says we live in a real world. We need bepoil. We need actuality. And the tension is in everybody. Are we satisfied with our life or not? We must ask ourselves. We have actualized certain things, but there are many things we haven't actualized. Yes. Beit Shammai says, if you're a soul from Beit Shammai, welcome to the world of endless dissatisfaction because there's always so much more to actualize. Beis Hillel is grounded. What I have is what there is. Beis Shammai, we know, comes from the side of Gevura, and Beis Hillel comes from Chesed. Beit Shammai challenges the earth to come closer, and Beis Hillel is asking Hashem to come down. So Beit Shammai wants to lift up the earth. Beis Hillel wants to bring Hashem down. So interesting. Also, this idea of Chesed and Gevura, so Chesed will look for a way to make something permissible because then it can be elevated, and the Gevura would say, don't use it at all. I mean, you can see certainly in the approach to technology, the Rebbe's approach to technology is use technology to bring the Geula. There are other Hasidic groups that say, don't have any contact with technology because it can lead, it can be problematic. But our approach is let's elevate it. We want to elevate it. Okay. So the Kotzker Rebbe, who followed the Shita of Beit Shammai, says Shemayim Shemayim LaHashem v'Haaretz Nosem Livnei Adam. That Hashem gave the Shemayim, the heavens belong to Hashem, and the earth He gave to people. So to turn it into Shemayim, Hashem says, I'll take care of Shemayim. You make earth heavenly. Beis Hillel says the ultimate purpose is the earth. It's Bepoil. It's down here. This is the ultimate purpose because this is reality. So Hanukkah comes. Ta-dum, ta-dum. What is the first night of Hanukkah? What's going on here? Is it 8 or 1? From a human perspective, it's the first night of Hanukkah. From Bekoyach, from Hashem's perspective, you have 8 nights to go. So but now the halacha is Beis Hillel. The Arizal teaches when Mashiach comes, the halacha will be like Beis Shammai, because then the state of actuality will be refined enough to reflect the state of potential. Now, isn't that interesting? So when Mashiach comes, the potential will be reflected. So it says, there's a Hayom Yom that says, one act is greater than 1,000 sighs. Stop sighing, go do a person a favor, tova, do one actual favor. Why? Because the other person is not going to gain anything from our potential, only if we actually go and help them. So to change the world, the earth understands action, not potential. In this world, Hamaisahu ha'ikr, the Rebbe would often say that the doing is what's important. Actually giving the tzedakah, actually calling the cousin, actually doing something. Okay, now we'll understand why the name of Hanukkah is Ches Neiros v'Halacha K'Beis Hillel. 8 candles, and the halacha is like Beis Hillel. That's the Rashi Tevis of Hanukkah. One of the reasons it's called Hanukkah for those who came in late. So all the Chagim are given by Hashem in Torah with 2 exceptions, Purim and Hanukkah, right? Purim was created through the Nevi'im. Esther and Mordechai, Chagai, Malachi, they were channels for Hashem. Hanukkah happened at a time with no Nevuah. It was the time of the second Beis Hamikdash. There was no Navi left. There was no prophet left at the time of Hanukkah. Purim happened, as we know, between the first and second Beis Hamikdash, the end of Golus Bavel. We know there were Nevi'im then. So Hanukkah came from the Jewish people, from Chazal. It was initiated by earth. So Hanukkah emphasizes the contribution of earth, the contribution of the Makabel. Purim is one of the Megillas Esther is one of the 24 books of Tanakh, Megillas Esther. We spoke about how the book of Maccabees is not part of Tanakh, and it also doesn't mention the miracle of the oil. So the halacha is K'Beis Hillel. We follow B'Poil. Hashem gave us His Torah. The Hachamim created a new Yontif. Hashem gave us the ability to reveal new levels through our own contribution. So Purim, as we know, Haman wanted to kill the Jewish body. The Greeks, in the story of Hanukkah, the Greeks wanted to kill Judaism. They wanted to Hellenize the Jewish people, end Yiddishkeit. Haman, the physical Jews, represented godliness to him, and he wanted to destroy the physical Jews. Hanukkah, they didn't see the physical Jew as a threat. The Greeks wanted to destroy Ruchnius, Yiddishkeit. So every mitzvah we can do is Hiddur mitzvah. So Hanukkah is unique. Everyone does it Mahadran, Minha Mahadran. Not every mitzvah we do Hiddur, but on Hanukkah, everyone is Mahad. We do it in the most beautiful way. We don't just light one, in a pinch, if you only have one candle for each night, you satisfy, you can say the brachas and do it. But of course we do it Mahadran, and we like to add candles, have all the guests in the Klavavitch way. Every guest who walks in the door lights another menorah. We want to bring more light into the world. Okay, so what's the difference? So a mitzvah, Hashem tells you to do it. A Hiddur mitzvah, making it beautiful, comes from us, the Jewish people, voluntarily. we add an additional contribution. That's what the word mahadran comes from hiddur, to make it beautiful. Our beautification of the mitzvahs from the earth, we embraced and accepted it on Hanukkah. So the mitzvah is one candle every night, both Shammai and both Beit Shammai and Beis Hillel are both Mahadran, Minha Mahadran, because neither of them say just light one candle every night. Either we're doing 8 down or 1 through 8 up, but they're both Mahadran, which I think is very interesting. Okay, so we're just going to finish up another couple of minutes. I'm sorry. I'm going I never do this, as I never go a couple of minutes into Rabbi Eli's time, but excuse me tonight. I just need a couple of more minutes to finish up. Okay, now we'll understand why the 8th day is called Zos Chanukah. I only have a little bit of notes to read. Wasn't yesterday also Chanukah? Weren't all days Chanukah? Why do we call this day Zos Chanukah? Now we can understand what's the point of Chanukah. B'halacha k'beis Hillel, b'poel, the actualization. When do we have Chanukah? When we have the 8th day. Chanukah underscores the element of actuality versus potential. With flaws of the earth, with all the flaws, that's where Chanukah is created, our world. So on this day we say, this is Chanukah. It is, when we see those 8 lights burning, it really is that feeling, this is Chanukah. So the right time to light the menorah is between Mincha and Ma'ariv, between sunset and nightfall. It's many light later. It's been our experience. You want to get everything ready. So, and then YY is telling a story. So it's the last night. There's children and family gathered. They wanted it to be special, singing and dancing. One child didn't like the color of her shamish. And when one child cries, it's like the well springs travel. Everyone got upset. Somebody tripped. There was chaos. There was tension between the potential of what it could have been and its actuality. My says, Zos Chanukah. I mean, this is it. This is it. We know the actuality versus the potential. It's easy to celebrate the potential. We have to learn to celebrate actual reality. Zos Chanukah. 8 days in actuality. We stare at reality and appreciate this world is not heaven, but this is our world. We want to bring God down here. So Torah is not about heaven. It's about Hashem coming to earth, integrating Hashem into our lives with limitations and imperfections. So that's the makabel, the recipient, to realize the process of earth is valuable. We can't actualize all our potential. We are limited. We don't have the time and the energy and the resources to actualize all of our potential. So we measure by the actuality. Even though a person always has to see the potential and elevate, but we must remember in life, we must embrace and celebrate actuality, what we have. Everyone should have a wonderful, wonderful Zos Chanukah. And let's take a picture to send to the Rav. So our beloved Rav, Rabbi Yitzhak Feivish ben Brina Malka, should have a refuah shalema and be able to continue teaching us all kinds of wonderful things. And let's take our picture. Can everyone put on their cameras, please, with that get well smile? Oh, this is so nice. 25 people. This is so cool. Baruch Hashem. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Great. So a freilichen Chanukah, let's enjoy every moment of Zos Chanukah and celebrate actuality. A freilichen Chanukah. Chodesh Tov, lots of love. Thanks so much. I'm so happy to see everybody and that we got a chance to learn together tonight. Shalom, shalom.